Right, so as we move on to the next set, this is a Rotel, and it says on it Rotel 240. So there's 3 sets in this box, and I understand they are all Rotels. I think we've got a 220, 230 and a 240, and this is just as it's come out of the box. My only trepidation is that we tend to find more illegal modifications on the high-end sets than the lower-end sets, and I hope this isn't a victim, and I hope we're not going to have to spend 3 days like we did on the Mustang. I've been trying to get the next part of the organ video out. I've not been able to touch the organ. Yeah, that's certainly a Rotel 240. So, because it's an unknown to me, I will take the lids off, but we will, of course, go through with what it's doing. See what he says in his letter. Here's a G1 radiometer. Oh, the meter lamp's not working in the RVC240. And his name's Jamie. So put some meter lamps in that if, because I understand it needs it. Right. So we need to undo his microphone. And it's got a Rotel mic, which is nice. Pop the screws out of this. So I'm actually starting this the same day we finished the Mustang. I really can't spend more than 40 minutes more today. But we're now so behind because we've spent a lot of time on the customer's Maxcom 16E, the Mustang customers. So so on the face of it, I can't see anything silly. No Roger bleeps. No other junk. There's our short little Cybernet tail. So plug the test instrument speakers in. And switch on power supply on 13.8 volts. There's the dimmer. Right, going to full. And while we've got this front off, I think we'll, as a courtesy, clean this up a bit for him. Make sure that's in the central position. So I have that in the high position. That's in normal. That's there. That looks right. So we get the mic plugged in, get the test equipment speaker plugged in, and we'll get the PA speaker plugged in. And as he says, the lamp's out. Bit of a faff that. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for, I need form to fill in. there goes the phone. Oh, it's the old, will I pick some money up from somebody's relative and transfer it to them and save them a 7-mile trip? What's this? Bank of Tango? So it's, I can't even read that. Imagine, still got the plastic on the serial number label. It's 11103158. So the killer with this job is we've got to do the meter lamp, and that means that I can't finish it today. So we're on channel 20, switch picture in picture on. It's showing on the monitor, but it was showing on the monitor last time and it didn't happen. The sound's showing on the monitor, but yeah, there you go. Channel 20. It looks like it's just doing 3 watts, it is. So 3 watts, channel 1, 3 watts. I could say 2.95, and I could say 2.9 on that one. Low power, so go back to channel 20. Low power is 150 milliwatts. And the transmit current for low power, for full power is 908 milliamps. The transmitted audio, Wallow, is virtually spot on. Wallow is spot on, but I will want it doing my way, so it might need alterations. So it's 2.0 to 2.5 kilohertz. Frequency, let's show you that. Not noticeably out, but it's enough to adjust. 2779096. And the receive, let's put that on the Cybernet meter for you. Let's switch the Cybernet meter on, that's even more helpful. Well, that's very good. So for 12 dB, it's 0.42. For 10 dB, it's 0.3. And if it will do 20, it's all down to noise, it looks like bang on 1. Squelch, is 24 microvolts, which is a bit slack. Always fill that in the wrong box. And let's see where it is at the other end. Set threshold. Switch signal generator back on. Is a very good 0.3. Meter lamp out. Customer provided lamp. So when we press transmit, it's saying 4 on the meter. When we look at the signal meter, it's bang on S9. PA. It's mic gain on these. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2 3. It is. So the sockets work. Right, let's start with the VCO. I need to select channel 40, and to do that I need to actually put it back into CB mode, don't I? There we go. So, using Mr. Chippy's borrowed crocodile clip lead, and our mystery benefactor has sent some crocodile clip leads, but we won't start using those till I've gone onto that box. He sent us very kindly sent us a Fidelity 1000, which has had a repainted front, and it now says Chelsea instead of Fidelity on it. So that's going to be interesting to see what we can do with that. And then he sent us the remains of, and half the chassis has been used as metal, so all this is missing, but we might have a really scrap one. We can take the actual chassis off. He sent a Lake 950, which is GT868. There's actually a Lake 850 on eBay at the moment for £110 in its box. And I remember when they were selling at £9.99. Mind you, that was the clearance price. Right, let's look at this VCO. I'd love to get that Lake 950 working. To have to replace the actual metal work takes it to another level. So we want 4 volts on receive. That'll do me. And on transmit we want 4 volts, so it's the red trimmer. No matter which way I turn it, it'll be the opposite way, and this is as usual. Tell you what, that's not wanting to do that. Or have I remembered the procedure wrongly? Because it must be a few days since I did one. Yeah, 4 volts. Okay, so this is 3.7. 3.8. Well, it's not. It is locking. As long as it locks at the other end, channel 1. That's in the correct place. That's Mr. Chippy calling me on the radio. Okay, various radio calls later. We'd done the VCO. Good, that's one thing done. Right, so we'll see whether we can get more than 3 watts out of this set. I'm going to keep it on that low scale, although it's full scale deflection. It is easy to see small deflections as I tune this up. So that is peak to move those wires. We now have to go on to the next scale because we have got 3.1. Funny that they're not normally out, but they are on this set. So, with the plastic twagger, and I've said this before, you've got to be quick doing this because really you need to be able to get this up to 4.4 watts to be able to do the balancing act. And not all the sets will do 4.4 watts. And then the next one you come to will do 5. But don't be tempted, legality aside, do not be tempted to leave it at full whack. You will kill the set. It's got extra power available, like having a motor car which will do more than 70 miles an hour. It's not expecting you to drive around at 95 all day. Now that's come up to 4. So next one, that is still 4. That is 4.5. This is going to be alright. Now we'll check this again because it's interactive. So 4.5. So it's the yellow one clockwise. Yeah, L4 is clockwise for 4.4 watts. So the yellow one, we're bringing it down from 4.5 in this case to 4.4. And then with the green one, we're turning this on anti-clockwise. They say for 3.8 watts, but then they have to get the sets through customs. We can go for the full legal limit of 4 watts. And that radio is doing a full 4 watts. So now we'll check it. Ah, good grief. You know what? I've gone and done it on channel 1. Shouldn't be doing things in the evening. This is where you make mistakes. Right, we'll start all over again. So those for peak, this for full whack, that peak. Now it's not as high. 4.4 is our maximum. So I'll just go through these again. It's definitely peak. 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 We'll do the transmission, we'll leave it at that. So clockwise for 4.4. Well, we're already at 4.4. We need to just let it go down. So it's now 4.3, and then anti-clockwise for 4, which is there. So now let's see where we are on channel 40, and the answer is about 3.95. Channel 1, 4.05. So that's as balanced as we're going to get. It's supposed to be within 0.1, and that's well within that. Sometimes it's 0.2, which is not ideal, but that's sometimes how it goes. Let's do low power. Back to channel 20. So low power selected. That wants a spray by the sounds of it. And that's 400 milliwatts. Which is where it's supposed to be. Back to normal power. See the current consumption. It's now 1.1, which is quite efficient. So I want to do the frequency. Put that up on the inset picture. Hopefully it will go. Now these are 40 years old, some of them won't. Some of them so much so that you've got to change the crystal, which is expensive, unless you can find one on a scrap set. That's why we have sometimes scrap AM sets given us, so we can pinch the reference crystal, because 10.24 reference is pretty standard on 1980 sets. So that's 277910.126, and we want to do the deviation. So I want this one to be in the central position, which it isn't, and then I want that one to give us the 2.2 to 2.5 deviation. Go back to that meter. Wow, that's now too loud, man. So see where that is. Wow, that's spot on. So that, although it's the same on the face of it, of 2.2 to 2.5 kilohertz, it's done with the correct procedure. Rotel RVC240. Let's just do we'll do the transmit meter, if you can see it. So it's now whopping across because we've increased the power of the set, and that's now on the 4. Remember, that's relative to your SWR, so if you're not into a dummy load like we are here, you may key up and it says 2, you may key up and it bangs across. It doesn't mean that you're doing more power or less power. And I've shown you some of the new sets, nearly all the new sets, where the power meters are fake. It doesn't matter whether the set's working or not. You can take the output transistor out, it'll still say it's transmitting it full whack. So there you go. I don't like that. So we'll have a quick look at this receive, because if I can do the receive, it means that tomorrow I can spend as lot. It takes about 40 minutes to do those meter lamps. So we're going to start with the detector. We'll put the oscilloscope on, put to camera 3, and S9 equivalent signal. Let's do that detector. The Mustang I did over the last few days was miles out on the detector, but this is virtually spot on, a tiny little adjustment. Now this receive was ever so good, and I'm frankly not expecting to get any improvements, but we'll go with the cyanide meter and let's see if we can. Well, actually the answer is yes. We'll have to change scales, because it's now working better than my normal scale. A bit more signal for these. This is the extra one you get on the higher range sets. There is one under this wiring somewhere. Okay, so that's all done. But there is an improvement. Let's see what that improvement is. So for 12 dB, we now have 0.34. 10 dB, we now have 0.26. It's nearly as good as a Bannertone 5-star. And for what? For 20, we've got. Well, I could put 0.98. So we'll just do the squelch. Oh, let's do the S meter while we're thinking about that. So the S meter is nearly bang on. So we'll just do that. So it was right before, but I've altered the receiver, so it's right now. That just leaves the squelch. So I'm going to turn the squelch to full, put this on the attenuator controls, and 1, 3, 10, 30, 100. So now I've altered the receive, that's 100 microvolts, which is where I want it to be. So I've not made any adjustment, as you've seen, but it's now correct. So at the other end of the scale, set the squelch threshold, switch the signal generator back on, 0.32. I'll say 0.35. There we go. So I'll do the meter lamp and then we'll come back, we'll do that tomorrow. We'll come back, put it together and pop it on the aerial. Right, so I've done the meter lamp. So I say the customer provided the actual bulb. Not the normal, not the type we would use. It's the right size, but it must be a different current. So what I've done is to change the resistor. There's a dropper resistor in there which is 150 ohms at 2 watts, and what we've done is just change it to 49 ohms or 47 ohms or something like that. I'll tape that to the inside of the lid so somebody can put that back if they needed to in the future. So the dropper resistor is just down there. We have to part the sides, take the front off, and we've got the meter out. So that's the meter, that's the correct brightness because it was far too dim with that resistor. While I've done it as a courtesy, I've cleaned the front because it's difficult to get to. I'm not going to clean the knobs, he can do that if he wants, but it does help, doesn't it, if I clean the front while it's off the radio. So what we've got to do is this plastic cover is actually taped. So I've got Scotch tape, other brands available. Why has the bobbin gone funny? Oh look, the bobbin's actually broken. How strange. What's Mr. Chippy done to it? What's he been taping together? So you won't believe it, but this is how they're done. They are taped. I'll tell you what, it's stood up alright for 40 years. And that goes all the way around. And then somehow you've got to get that back in the aperture and then put its securing thing back. So that's the meter back into position. It's held in with this metal bracket. So that has to be threaded through, etc. What a laugh. I'll pause the video. Right, so when you're manipulating that back into position, you've got to make sure that you're not trapping any wires in there. So if you can see down there, it's absolutely clear of all the wiring. When you put these screws back, which are the little countersunk ones that go through the front, secure it, be very careful not to over tighten them. They only need to be snug. And if you over tighten them, you end up with the lugs snapping off. So that's it, you know, that built-in torque wrench in your fingers, so you just know when to stop. So I'm going to put the knobs on while the lid's off, just so I can give it some better support. So I've always put them on in the extreme left position. I've kept these in the same order that came off the radio, just in case there's wear in a particular direction. So I want the pointer in that position. That's the third one. That's the second one, fourth one I mean. That's the second one. That's the last one. And if we're on channel 20, we want that in that horizontal kind of position. Just like that. So they're not the lamps we use, but it's absolutely fine. We get the ones we use from, they are still called grain and wheat lights. We get them from Rapid Online. So that's the speaker lid. That is the top. And we'll be doing a scratchy corner test. I just wish these wires were an inch longer. If I go to the trouble of putting it together, there's bound to be something wrong, isn't there? We put the screws in loosely, and then push the case sides so they have a nice equal gap. There's a little bit of latitude to enable you to do that. Same on this side. So the next radio will be another of this gentleman's Rotels. So I don't know whether it'll be his 220 or whether it'll be his 230. I'm just pulling them out of the box at random. I mean, you could say, well, we'll do the 220 and then we'll do the 230 and then we'll do the 240, but we'll do them random. And I'm sure this 240 is the hardest one to do. I don't think the lamps have failed on the others. So it took 40 minutes to do the tune-up, and it took a good 40 minutes to do the lamp. Right, so we'll plug it into the aerial now instead of the test gear. And on its own speaker. Where did I put the mic? It's the one that says Rotel on it, so that wasn't hard to find. My friend Stuart's got a Rotel mic head, which he says he'll pass on to me. One, oh, we're on low power, I think. Yeah, we are. Just make sure we've got all these. There's so many knobs. 1 Anna Roger. Ah, you'll be lucky. $19 a Roger. Okay, well we'll put that to one side, ready for the on-the-air test later on. So that's ended up quite nice, because as I say, it takes longer to do the meter lamp than it does to do the tune-up. So 2 more Rotels from this customer. Thanks for watching. Rotel RVC240 using the Cybernet 134 chassis, and from 1981.